Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to briefly talk about modeling tracer transport in a fractured porous medium using MRST. And the fractured porous medium is modeled using the embedded discrete fracture matrix model or the EDFM model. And the fluid that I have in the system is water, which is a slightly compressible fluid, and it is also single phase. So I don't have two phases, multiple phases. I don't have vapor and water. I only have liquid water in our system. So, and the concentrations are in mole per kilogram, the concentration of the tracer, and that's it. Now it's time to talk about the code. So as you see, I have here the MRST package, but actually these folders, some of these folders that are necessary for running the code are still not on the MATLAB path. So I need to use the function startup, which is located here, in order to add the necessary files that I need to have for running MRST scripts. All right, so if I run this script without adding some of these folders to the MATLAB path, it will give us an error because certainly, for example, the HFM module or this function, as you see, this function is unfamiliar to MATLAB. Why? Because this function is not on the MATLAB path. So we need to add the file of this function to the MATLAB path. So in order to make this happen, we always need to use the function startup to add some the folders, the necessary folders and files of MRST to the MATLAB path. All right, and as you can see now, these folders are added to the MATLAB path, but these two folders are still not added on the MATLAB path, which have a lighter color. Okay, so whenever we need some of these modules, we add those modules to the MATLAB path by using the function MRST module. All right, for example here, because I'm interested in using the HFM module. Where's the HFM module? Here it is. Because I'm interested in the HFM module, I use the function MRST module and the input argument add in order to add this module to the MATLAB path. So if I execute this line, you will see that this folder got active and now is added on the MATLAB to the MATLAB path. All right, great. But I can add these folders to the MATLAB path by left-clicking on the desired folder or files and click here. All right, add to path selected folders or the folder and all the subfolders. Very good. So I'm not going to talk about all the sections of this script because I have already talked about many of them in the previous videos, so I'll only talk about those ones which are new here. Great, so here I have loaded the modules that I need to have using the function MRST module. Here I have defined and discretized the domain, and this is, I think, is different from the previous videos. Here I have added the output of this function to the grid data structure as a field, all right? And the name of the field is rock. Great. So this is actually the definition and discretization of the matrix. So what about the fractures? Here I have specified the information of one of the fractures that I'd like to have, and here I have the information of the second fracture. So you can have many other fractures depending on your problem. Here I have specified the coordinates of the vertices of the fracture because and actually here I have a rectangular fracture, so a rectangle has 4 vertices, and so I need to specify actually the coordinates of 4 vertices. These are the coordinates of one of the vertices and so forth. All right, one vertex, the second vertex, the third vertex, and the fourth vertex. This is X, this is Y, and this is Z. Great. So here I store the coordinates of the vertices in the field points, which is actually the field of this struct. And this is actually the number of the fracture, or the index of the fracture. And as you see here, because I am defining the information or the properties of the second fracture, I have written 2, okay? And here I have determined the aperture of the fracture, and here the porosity of the fracture, which is usually 1, and here I have specified or calculated the permeability of the fracture using the cubic law, which uses the aperture of the fracture to calculate the amount of the permeability of the fracture. All right. And the same thing, happens to the second fracture. The vertices, the coordinates of the vertices, aperture, porosity, and permeability. All right. So now we have specified the properties of the fractures that we have. If we have more fractures, we do the same things, but with an index of 3, 4, 5, etc. All right. So let's take a look at the domain, the fractures that we have in our matrix. Let's run the code till this line, and here it is. Here we can see the domain, the discretized matrix, and the 2 fractures that we have. And as you see, the fractures are vertical. All right. Very good. And by looking at these values, you can guess that the fractures are vertical. All right. So now it's time to put the grid data structure, which also includes the data of the rock here as the first input argument, and the second input argument is the actually the information, the properties of the fractures, and here we have a key value pair which specifies the tolerance of the calculations. And we get two output arguments, and now we use this function and then this function, and we use these two output arguments later. Okay, so now it's time to take a look at the discretized fractures. Actually, inside one of these functions, we have the function, or I could say, actually I should say, a par for loop. Par for is actually a kind of loop which is different from the for loop. Par for actually stands for parallel for loop. So let me also read you a note about par loop. Actually, par for. Par for is actually another kind of loop, which is different from actually the for loop, and it stands for parallel for loop, and it runs iterations of its body in parallel, that is, simultaneously on separate CPU cores. And as you see, to use actually the par for loop, we need to activate, we need to turn on the parallel pool of MATLAB. So, and this is happening. It has not started yet, but it is in progress. So, par 4 can be used on computers that have multiple cores. So, calculations are done in a parallel way between the cores of your computer. So, sometimes we can use the par 4 loop in order to speed up our calculations. But not always we're not allowed to use par 4 instead of 4. All right, sometimes we can use par 4 instead of 4 to speed up the calculations. So it has not started yet, so we need to wait more to let it start. So actually, if we use par 4, the cores of your computer will work simultaneously. So after executing these functions, we'll get these output arguments, and then we'll plot some plots to show you what the discretization looks like. And actually that's the whole thing. Of course, there are some other differences that I will talk about after the execution of those functions, but the rest of the code is quite the same as the actually previous videos, the codes that we had in the previous videos. The definition and writing the governing equations are the same as previous videos. The only thing that is different from the previous videos is the definition of the domain and the calculation of the transmissibilities and the discrete differential operators that we need to use in the governing equations. All right, so I'll talk about it in a minute. One fracture out of two fractures is being processed. So okay, let's see. Very good. So now we can see the discretization of the fractures. These are the two fractures that we also saw in the previous figure, and these are the grid cells. All right, so these two fractures are discretized into these grid cells. Very good. So good. Let's execute this section as well. I think because the cores are working in a parallel way, my computer has gotten much slower than before, so I'm waiting for it to show me actually the button here so that I can run the code until here. Okay, so I think it's not going to show me the code because it's not going to show me the button because I made a change in the script, and because of that, it doesn't show me. Okay, no problem. So let's run the code until the end. And I will show you what has happened here. Okay, so I think we have 102 time steps. Time steps. Okay, now simulation is completed. Great. So I didn't show you the output of I showed you the output of this section of the code, but not this section, plot intersected matrix cells. As you see here, we have the matrix grid cells that intersect the fractures that we have. And as expected, the pattern of these matrix grid cells actually is the same as the pattern of the fractures. And it is expected because these are the matrix grid cells that intersect the fractures. Great. So this was the output of this section of the code. And now here we have intersecting pairs. This is the output plot of this section of the code, and this shows actually the fracture grid cells that intersect each other. The blue grid cell is actually the grid cell of this fracture, and the red grid cell is the grid cell of that fracture. And these two fracture grid cells intersect each other at this point. So that's it, and these input arguments are put in as are put in this function, and then we obtain the transmissibilities of the cells that we have in the domain, the transmissibilities between the matrix grid cells, between the fracture grid cells, and the transmissibilities between fracture and matrix grid cells. All right, certainly, those the transmissibilities of actually grid cells and fracture matrix grid cells and fracture grid cells are calculated differently. All right, so here we have received the gradient operator, the divergence operator, the phase average operator, uh, and here we have uh, gotten the phase upstream operator, which is used for the upwind scheme for mass transport equations. And I think these sections of the code are the same as the codes that I talked about before. So let's take another look at them to make sure that nothing is missing. The initial concentration of the chemical species in the porous medium is 0.5 mole per kilogram, and the concentration of the tracer in the injected water is 1 mole per kilogram. Very good. And we have only a single fluid in our system, so we have one pressure equation, and we also have a tracer, a chemical species, in our porous medium. So we have one mass transport equation. So we have two equations, so we actually have two unknowns as well. The first unknown is pressure, and the second one is concentration. Of course, it doesn't have any specific order. I just numbered them. Concentration and pressure, concentration of the fluid, concentration of the tracer or the chemical species, and the pressure of the fluid are the unknowns of the system. So in order to actually calculate these unknowns, we need to have two equations, which I talked about, which are the pressure equation and the mass transport equation of the tracer. Okay, so that's it. And here we start the main loop, and here I have defined the pressure equation and the boundary conditions, and here I have actually defined the mass transport equation of the desired species with actually suitable boundary conditions, and here we have used the Newton-Raphson method in order to get the unknowns, and that's it. So I think this actually concludes this video, and yeah, I think this was everything I needed to talk about for actually this video. And at the end, I have used the MRST GUI module. All right, where can I find it? MRST GUI, because this script was run completely. This line was run as well, and so the MRST GUI, as you see, is also added to the MATLAB path. And this is what this function gives me. Actually, this function is located in this module, and that's why I added this module to the MATLAB path. So let's use this GUI to take a look at the results. First, let's look at the pressure distribution in the porous medium. Let's rotate the porous medium a little bit. Let's play the video here. we can see the time step number, the total number of time steps is 100 or 101, and 100 plus the initial conditions. And here we have actually we inject fluid with concentration with a different with a tracer with a different concentration, and over there we have a production well, I could say. So this is the final status of the pressure distribution, and let's also take a look at the concentration distribution. Let's play, and as you see, concentration, the maximum concentration is 1 and the minimum is 0.5, and as you see, the concentration increases over here, and because of the high permeability of the fracture, fluid flows into the fractures very fast and reaches the tip of the fracture instantly. And let's continue watching it till the end. All right, that's a beautiful illustration of actually the usage of the EDFM model for modeling a fractured porous medium, or defining a fractured porous medium. All right, actually we also have the DFM model, actually discrete fracture, actually the DFM model, which is different from EDFM model, embedded discrete fracture matrix. DFM doesn't have actually the term embedded, but the EDFM model is also suitable for the fractures that are sealed. But if we use the DFM model for modeling fractures, it's not a good idea to actually model sealed fractures or sealing faults using the DFM model. If the fracture or if the fault is sealed, it is a good idea to use the embedded discrete fracture matrix model to model them. All right, great. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for watching this video, and hope you found it helpful and useful, and hope you're having a great time.